Hidden text message revealed, Billionaire's incredible 180 degrees transformation after mistakenly Cont. Jack Thompson had it all. A sprawling mansion, cars that would make any car enthusiast drool, and the prestige of being a self-made billionaire. Yet, as he smiled at his family gathered around his grand dining table, he felt an unexpected chill. It was in that moment, while browsing through his old texts, he stumbled upon a blast from the past, a message from Leah, his childhood friend. "I've always believed in you, Jack, but it hurts to see our paths diverge so starkly. I miss the days we spent together." The word struck him like a lightning bolt. How had he let their friendship fade away? Leah had always stood by him, cheering him on as he chased the American dream. And now, their lives felt like distant planets, each orbiting a different sun. Suddenly, memories of their childhood whipped through his mind: endless summer days riding bikes, lemonade stands, and late-night stargazing from the roof of her dad's garage. His chest tightened as he recalled their late-night talks about dreams and futures, jewels hidden in the simplicity of those moments. Yet here he stood, miles away from that boy who cherished the small town just as much as the people in it. A wave of guilt crashed over him, leaving him disoriented. As he tried to shake off the uneasiness, an alert on his phone rattled him. Leah's family faced catastrophe. The factory that served as the lifeblood of their small town had announced its closure. Jack's heart sank. This wasn't just Leah, it was a blow to the entire community that raised him. His mind raced, grappling with the moral obligation that now clawed at him. Could he, Jack Thompson, the billionaire, possibly make a difference? He had to try, even if the fear of rejection loomed large. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined, Jack returned to his roots, his luxurious suit somehow feeling burdened by the weight of responsibility. He organized a charity event to raise funds for Leah's family and others in similar dire straits. But as Jack made calls and sent emails, skepticism loomed thicker than a Midwest summer storm. What does he know about our struggles? They whispered. He was an outsider, a millionaire with an insulated world far removed from theirs. Each jab pierced a little deeper, until doubt knotted in his stomach. The day of the event arrived, but it resembled a train wreck: poor turnout, bickering among organizers. A familiar face pushed through the crowd. Leah stood there, eyes blazing like firefly lanterns in the dark, and Jack felt both hope and dread. A confrontation ignited: not just words, but the raw honesty of lingering resentments bubbled over. In that heated exchange, they unearthed memories laden with emotion and forgiveness, each word resonating like a drumbeat echoing their shared past. Jack saw it then: the bridge he hoped to build was crumbling, but hope clung like the last rays of sunlight. Yet wasn't that why he was here? Did he still carry the values of his roots within him? As he looked around at the community he longed to reconnect with, he wrestled with the truth of his privilege and the ghost of the boy he had once been. Could he bridge the divide before it shattered completely? The question hung in the charged atmosphere, waiting for an answer that could change everything. Leah's intense gaze pierced through Jack, igniting a fire inside him. Their confrontation felt like a double-edged sword: part anger, part longing. He could feel the weight of expectation crackling between them. "What are you doing here, Jack?" she demanded, her voice thick with emotion. "Do you even realize how much you've lost touch with us?" Jack opened his mouth but no words came out. How could he explain? The last thing he wanted was for her to think he was trying to play the hero. After a long pause, he finally said, "I'm here to help, Leah. I know I've been gone, but I want to do something. For you, for all of us." Her eyes narrowed, reflecting a blend of hope and skepticism. Help? You mean throw around money? Our lives aren't a game where you can just step in when it's convenient. The accusation stung, and Jack felt the familiar burn of shame creeping up his neck. No, he didn't want to throw money at problems, he wanted to build something. But how? I'm not trying to be your savior, he insisted, words tumbling out in an urgent rush. I want to make a real impact. I don't even know how, but I'm here. He glanced over his shoulder at the small group of townspeople loitering near the entrance, looks of curiosity mixed with uncertainty. They were all watching with an unsaid judgment that pressed against him. Leah hesitated, biting her lip. Jack could sense her internal struggle. She clearly wanted to protect her family and her hometown from hollow gestures. And who could blame her? I see the pain in our community, Leah. I grew up in it. Let me give them a chance, let me try. The crowd was silent, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Suddenly, Leah's expression softened, and for a moment, Jack glimpsed that childhood friend he'd been missing. Okay, she said quietly. But if you're serious, there's much more at stake than just money. You need to be part of it. You have to know who we are, what we need. Jack nodded, fully aware of the responsibility that loomed before him. I will. Just tell me how. After some critical discussion, they agreed to walk through the heart of the town together. Each step felt monumental as Jack could almost hear the whispers of disbelief around him, the billionaire facing the real world of struggles and dreams that might never see the light of day again. As they strolled, Leah pointed out small shops shuttered, owners leaning against door frames looking despondent. He saw the familiar faces of those who had once cheered for him from the sidelines as a kid, now marking their territory with heavy hearts instead of laughter. Jack felt the air grow heavier, a reality that pressed against his chest. Could he really make a difference? His thoughts swirled, bouncing between hope and self-doubt. Maybe money wasn't the answer, not if it came without understanding the stories behind the facing walls. Leah stopped at a community park filled with dilapidated swings and a playground covered in rust. This park used to be alive, she said, her voice soft. Now it's just a ghost. Jack looked down, swallowing hard. I can fix it. I can get donors. No. She snapped. Don't treat this like a project. This park needs heart, Jack. It needs everyone to believe it can be alive again. The determination in her voice ignited something in him. The spark to not only support the park but to rekindle connection between them, and with the entire community. Then that's where I'll start, he said, meeting her gaze with newfound resolve. I'll help build a new dream. Together. The night fell heavy around them, but a glimmer of hope flickered amidst the darkness. Jack didn't know how it would all unfold, but the shift inside him was undeniable. As they walked back to the event, Leah glanced sideways at him. Just don't disappear again, Jack. Show up. Every time. He nodded, promising to fight against the urge to retreat into old habits. I won tea. I'm all in. But deep down, another question tugged at him: what if he couldn't live up to the promise? What if bridging this divide was a test he wasn't ready for? The answer lingered in the air like electricity, both exhilarating and frightening. What awaited was uncertain, but the challenge to reclaim his past promised to be transformative for both of them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky a rich blend of purple and orange, the small town of Crestview felt both familiar and foreign to Jack. Each street held memories, friends, laughter, and dreams once shared. Now, as he stood beside Leah, the weight of his absence pressed on him like a shroud. They entered the community hall filled with townspeople, faces both welcoming and wary. Conversations buzzed in the air, mingling with the scent of potluck dishes, warm casseroles and cobblers that spoke of home. Jack felt the warmth spread through the room, but he could also sense the judgment simmering just beneath the surface. Hey, everyone! Leah's voice rang out, pulling the crowd's attention. I want to introduce you to someone. She paused, looking at him, and he felt the flutter of nerves. This is Jack. He wants to help us rebuild. A murmur rolled through the crowd. A few faces turned away, skepticism etched into their features. Jack squared his shoulders. He needed to prove that he wasn't the distant millionaire they thought he was. Stepping forward, he said loudly, "Thank you for having me. I know I've been away for a long time, but I want to understand how to support this community." His voice was steady, but he felt like a string about to snap. Silence hung, only broken by the creaking of a wooden chair as an older man spoke up from the back. "What's in it for you, Jack? You could be anywhere else but here." His heart raced. Jack could feel the truth swelling in him. "I grew up here," he replied, scanning the crowd. "This is my home. I wasn't there when you all needed me, but I can be now. I want to help create something meaningful. Not just for me, but for all of us." The room shifted slightly. A woman with kind eyes spoke softly, "And we've heard promises before." Jack could see the glimmers of hurt in their eyes, the scars of broken trust. "I know. And it's going to take more than talk. I want to work with you. I want to hear your stories, what you need." Leah's gaze remained steady on him, and he saw a flicker of hope. "What he's saying is true. We need to be involved in this, not just as recipients of charity." Gradually, the mood began to lighten, subtle as a sunrise breaking through. Conversation sparked again, questions arose, and Jack found himself at the center of a whirlwind of ideas. He had never felt anything like this, the sense of ownership, the urgency to change lives. Hours passed, and he listened intently as people shared stories of struggle, businesses shutting down, families leaving, dreams deferred. With each tale, he felt their weight settle upon his heart. This was more than just fixing a park or donating money, it was becoming a part of the solution. As he took a moment to step outside, fresh air greeted him like an old friend. Leah joined him, her expression unreadable. "So, how was that?" she asked. "Intense. I didn't expect that kind of pushback. But it feels right? Right? Or just the beginning of something bigger?" Jack looked back inside, his heart swelling with questions. What if I don't have all the answers? What if it's not enough? "Maybe it's not about having all the answers," Leah suggested softly. "Maybe it's about sharing the journey." Her words struck him, igniting a spark. There wouldn't be a perfect solution overnight. It would take time, collaboration, and patience. His past spending money hadn't prepared him for this kind of work. A sudden rush of excitement surged through him, and he found himself responding, "What if we started a community meeting? Just with ideas and suggestions. Make it open to everyone." Leah nodded, a smile growing. "That's a start." But then, as the two stood in the glow of the fading day, uncertainty crept back in. How would he sustain this momentum? Would the town welcome him as one of their own, or would he be just another transient force? They walked back inside, but the questions loomed in his mind like shadows. Each step felt heavier as the truth loomed large, the real test lay ahead. Just as they crossed the threshold, a commotion erupted behind them, a loud crash, followed by hurried whispers. Jack's stomach twisted. What now? With adrenaline pumping, he shared a glance with Leah, and they both turned toward the unfolding chaos. What awaited them inside could change everything. Would it be another setback, or maybe, just maybe, the chance they needed to truly connect? Jack took a deep breath, his heart pounding, as he pushed through the community hall doors. The noise inside was a swirl, gasps, shouts, and the thud of something heavy hitting the floor. Panic surged. What had happened? A group of townspeople huddled near the refreshments table, looking both shocked and wary. Jack's eyes were pulled to the mess on the floor. An overturned table bore witness to whatever had just occurred, and the scent of spilled coffee and cake wafted through the air. "Let us see what's going on," Leah urged, taking quick steps ahead. They threaded their way through the crowd, and Jack's pulse quickened as he approached the center. A woman in her 50s, her hair tied tightly in a bun, was shaking her head in disbelief. "I can't believe he would do this. Right here, in front of everyone." Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. "What happened?" Jack asked, stepping closer. An older man, red-faced and shaking with anger, pointed accusingly at a young man standing nearby, hands raised in surrender. "You think it's funny to come back after all these years and disrupt everything? You think you own this place now?" Jack frowned as he recognized the young man Tyler, a former friend who had left town under less than stellar circumstances. "Tyler? What is going on?" I just wanted to say something," Tyler stammered but was drowned out by the uproar. Leah stepped in front of Jack, her eyes focused on Tyler, who had always been a bit reckless. "What are you trying to say? You know you can't just barge in like this." Tyler's voice wavered. "I came to apologize. I didn't mean to knock over the table. I thought you'd want to know I'm back and ready to make things right." A wave of emotion rippled through Jack. He had thought Tyler was lost to the winds of time, a ghost of their shared youth. "If you want to make things right, maybe you should start by being honest," Jack said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. "Honest?" Tyler echoed, his eyes widening. "I've spent years trying to forget who I was. I messed up, okay? But I'm here now, and I want to help." The room had momentarily quieted, all eyes darting between Jack and Tyler. What was supposed to be a gathering of ideas had suddenly morphed into a confrontation laden with regret and promise. Leah watched the two, her expression a blend of caution and contemplation. "We all have pasts we carry, Tyler. But it's about what we do now that matters," she said. "Yeah," Jack chimed in, feeling an unexpected surge of determination. "If you're sincere, let us channel that into helping out. Every story matters here. Yours too, but you have to earn it, just like the rest of us." The tension shifted, and whispers began to break out around the hall. Some people looked intrigued, while others still held doubt etched into their features. "I know I'll have to work at it," Tyler replied, his tone softening. "Can we really make something good out of this?" Jack's heart clenched with the possibilities. The urgency of their situation was rising. "We'll figure it out together if we're all in this," he said, glancing around at the faces of the community. "We can only rebuild if we address our past." The room stirred again, conversations awakening like seeds cracking open in spring. Jack could feel a fragile thread of hope weaving through the crowd. Some began to nod in understanding, others whispered encouragement to Tyler. Then Leah caught his eye. "What do you think, Jack? Should we turn this into something constructive?" Jack smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him as they unified under a common struggle. "Yes, absolutely. Let us open this up. We need to talk, not just hear ourselves speak. Maybe we need a story circle." Just as people began to murmur in agreement, a cell phone rang loudly. The unexpected sound cut through the budding optimism like a knife. Jack winced as he realized it was Leah's phone. "Sorry," she said, pulling it out but hesitating. "It's from the mayor." The urgency of Leah's expression stopped Jack's heart. This could disrupt everything they had just started to build. "What is it?" Leah's hands trembled as she read the message, her face paling. "There's been an emergency in town, a fire at the old mill." A heavy silence enveloped them, laden with unspoken dread. Jack felt the momentum falter, the possibility of newfound hope threatened. The moment of action had arrived, but would they face this challenge, or would it shatter their fragile plans? "Everyone," Jack said firmly, seeking to ignite their spirits again. "We can't let this define us. Let us see together how we can help right now." But as he looked at Leah, he could see she was concerned, doubts shadowing her expression. Can we really make it through this? The gathering needed to act, but the weight of decisions loomed ever larger. Facing emergencies would test them all in ways they never expected. The fire was here, but would it forge them into something stronger or consume them whole? Jack's heart raced as the reality of the fire settled into the air around him. The community hall, once a sanctuary of ideas and plans for the future, now buzzed with a swarm of anxiety and urgency. Faces that had just begun to light up with hope now wore expressions of uncertainty. What do we do? Someone shouted from the back. It was Mary, a volunteer who donned the hat of organizer for nearly every town event. She was a pillar of strength in their community. We can't just stand here. Right. Jack replied, trying to rally them. Let us break into teams. Who knows how to handle emergency situations? We need to make sure everyone's safe first, then we can figure out what's next. Leah stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chatter. I'll go to the mill, she said resolutely. I still have some connections with the fire department. I know they'll be overwhelmed, but I can help direct traffic, gather info, anything. Jack nodded, impressed by her resolve. Good idea. Anyone else with experience in emergencies? A few hands shot up in the crowd, including old Tom, a retired firefighter. I can help too. He called. We need to support the first responders. Tyler slowly made his way forward, his eyes full of determination. I want to do something, too. If you're letting me in, I want to show I can contribute. I know the area, I might be able to help with logistics. The murmurs of doubt from earlier began to ebb, replaced with the whir of people stepping into action. Okay, Jack ordered, feeling the energy shift. We regroup in 15 minutes. Leah, you take Tom and the others. Tyler, gather anyone who can help with supplies, like water and food for the firefighters. I'll coordinate with the town council for additional support. As the crowd broke apart, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline. One moment they had been grappling with the past, and now they were facing a challenge that demanded their unity. The old mill, their mill, was a symbol of their community, and the fires that had ravaged it in the past now threatened to reignite. He turned, scanning the hall for Leah. Just as he locked eyes with her, she approached, her earlier concern replaced with purpose. We can't let this scare us or set us back, right? No, Jack replied. We'll face this together. Just like we talked about before. But even as he said it, doubt nagged at him. Would they all come back from this? Would Tyler prove true to his word? Somehow, this felt different, like this fire could unearth something deeply buried within all of them. As groups started forming, Tim gathered supplies, Leah coordinating outreach, and Tyler's energy becoming infectious. Jack felt a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. Maybe this moment, as dire as it seemed, could make them stronger. The adrenaline buzzed in his veins, and he couldn't help but share a grin with Tyler, who seemed somewhat lighter, despite the chaos around them. Perhaps this was what they needed, a chance to work towards something bigger, something that mattered. Then, out of nowhere, a piercing siren echoed in the air, shattering the moment. The fire trucks had arrived, their red lights flashed against the evening sky, creating a surreal backdrop to the reality unfolding. What if this isn't just a fight to save a building? Jack wondered aloud, caught in the dichotomy of hope and anxiety. What if it's a chance to save us? Leah squeezed his arm, firm and assuring. Let us see what we can do together. But in that moment of clarity, dread whispered its uncertainty. Would they rise like the phoenix from those flames, or would they struggle against an inferno that threatened to consume everything they had? As the crowd dwindled into their assigned teams, Jack realized he needed to stand his ground. We'll do this, he shouted, his voice booming over the noise. Together, we will bring our town back. The response was immediate. Cheers erupted around him. But as he faced the throbbing heart of the matter, a painful thought crept in: what if Tyler's past returned to haunt them at the worst moment? With every step towards the old mill, Jack felt the weight of transformation hanging in the balance. Where there was once embarrassment and unresolved tension was now a precipice of potential. Together they could build a new legacy, or they could crumble. And as they raced toward the uncertain future, one question lay heavy on Jack's heart: would this fire forge new bonds, or would it expose their deepest fears? As Jack and his team rushed toward the old mill, the sights and sounds of chaos sharpened his focus. The fire trucks, with their glaring lights and blaring sirens, created a vivid contrast to the darkening sky. Smoke billowed menacingly above, a reminder of what they were fighting against. The air was thick with the acrid scent of burning wood, an olfactory harbinger of destruction but also of resolve. "Over here!" Leah shouted, directing the first responders toward an area that needed immediate attention. She moved with a sense of purpose that inspired those around her. Old Tom followed closely, shouting out instructions to the volunteers now rallying to form a makeshift supply station. Jack found himself swept into action alongside Tyler. "We need to set up a command center," Tyler suggested, his urgency palpable. "Somewhere clear, where we can see everything that's happening." Jack nodded, adrenaline coursing through him once more. "Let's grab a couple of tables from the hall. We need their maps, radios, anything that can help us keep track of who's where." As they hastened back towards the community hall, an unexpected pang of anxiety gripped Jack's heart. What if Tyler's drive to prove himself masked a hidden agenda? He knew the community was wary of Tyler's past, and doubts lingered like the smoke now wafting through the streets. Could he really trust him? In a moment of shared purpose, Jack handed Tyler a table as they arrived back at the hall. Their fingertips brushed, and an electric spark of understanding passed between them. Fear and hope jostled for dominance in Jack's mind. Together, they could either solidify their team or let unspoken fears tear them apart. "Let's set this up over there," Jack directed, pointing to an open area with a clear view of both the mill and the road leading into town. "We can spot everyone coming in." Just then, a voice called out from behind them. "Jack! Tyler! We need help over here." It was Mary, her face streaked with dirt and determination. The sight of her unwavering spirit brought an immediate sense of clarity. "What can we do?" Jack asked, stepping over to her side. "The water supply is running low, and we need to set up a better way for the fire teams to get what they need without losing precious time," she explained, urgency filling her voice. "They're trying to contain the flames but can't get through the crowd." "Let's create a supply line," Tyler suggested, his earlier doubts forgotten as adrenaline surged through him. "If we can get volunteers lined up, we can pass water and equipment down the line while we keep people at bay." Jack marveled at Tyler's sudden burst of leadership. Perhaps his intentions were pure. "Great idea. Let's split up, find as many willing hands as you can, and I'll gather water and supplies." As they broke off again, Jack felt the weight of his fears lessen slightly. He wasn't just standing on the sidelines, he was taking action. With each passing moment, his heart warmed at seeing their community shake off the pall of doubt. Amid the looming shadows, resilience began to shine brighter. People were joining in, laughter and shouts erupting amidst the tense atmosphere. They were no longer just fighting against flames, they were igniting their spirits. The fire raged, its intensity matching the newfound energy in the crowd. Firefighters shouted commands as they battled the blaze, but now the entire community was within reach of the fight. However, as supplies streamed in and faces filled with determination, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle lay ahead. Would they be able to keep this momentum going, or would the inferno of uncertainty engulf him, Tyler, and the collective hope of their town? Just as he was turning to head back to the supply line, the ground shook slightly beneath him, and a roiling cloud of smoke erupted from the mill. His heart dropped. They were far from safe. Was their collective courage strong enough to withstand the escalation of this crisis? In the face of mounting chaos, Jack's thoughts raced. What would become of them when the flames finally faded? One thing was clear, the fire had only just begun to reveal the truths buried deep within their community and within themselves. Jack sprinted toward the chaos, the acrid smoke burning at his throat. He could hear the crackling flames now, fierce and unforgiving, and the sounds of shouting mixed together in a discordant symphony of urgency. Every step felt heavier as the reality of their situation hit him. The fire wasn't just an immediate threat, it was a test of everything he believed in. He caught up with Leah, who was directing a group of volunteers huddled together, their faces grim but determined. "Jack! We need more water stat," she called out, her voice cutting through the noise. "Right," he shouted back, nodding as he turned to rally the others. Every second counted, and the fire brigade needed their supplies without hesitation. Tyler emerged from the crowd, breathless but focused. "I found some old hosepipes in the back of the hall. They might help us get water to the fire faster." "That's perfect," Jack replied, feeling a surge of gratitude. Maybe this was what Tyler needed, a chance to show he could contribute something positive. "Let us get them to the front line. We can connect them to the truck with a bucket brigade if we need to." A sense of camaraderie sparked between them as they forged onward. Volunteers came together, all pushing past their fears. Jack caught sight of Mary again, working alongside Tom as they filled up buckets with water from a nearby hydrant. There was a fierce joy in her every action, a reminder of their shared strength. He lifted a filled bucket just as a loud explosion rocked the ground beneath them. A part of the building had collapsed. Instinctively, Jack dropped the bucket and turned, desperately scanning for his friends amidst the swirling panic. The fire had breached a wall, and flames leapt greedily toward the sky, their heat palpable even from afar. "Everyone, stay back," Leah shouted, but her voice held a tremor of fear. Jack could feel anxiety tightening in his chest. Had they done enough? In his mind, he could hear the questions echo. Would they lose everything they had worked for? Was their mission slipping from their grasp? Suddenly, Tyler grabbed his arm, his eyes wide with urgency. "Jack, look! Over there!" He pointed to a group of people trapped closer to the mill, shock and horror etched on their faces. "They can't get out." Without a second thought, Jack pushed forward. "We've got to move." He sprinted, his heart thudding loudly in his ears. He reached the edge of the flames roaring toward them, the heat intense, singeing the hairs on his arms. "Follow me," he yelled, motioning for the trapped people to follow his lead. "We're going to get you out." They hesitated, fear freezing them in place, but Jack took a deep breath, channeling all the desperation of the moment into his voice. "Trust me. Run toward my voice now." With that, they broke and ran, and Jack ushered them through the glowing embers, feeling the searing heat as they passed. It was a race against time, both for him and the lives of those behind him. He felt a sense of empowerment ignite within him. He wasn't just fighting the fire, he was fighting for those behind him. Just as they reached safety, the ground trembled again, and a fresh wave of flames erupted closer to the grouping of fire trucks. Jack's heart sank. The danger was escalating, more lives were at stake than ever. Tyler clutched his shoulder, breathless but determined. "We need to find another way to keep everyone safe. This is about to get a whole lot worse." Jack turned, his heart surrendering to a crushing fear. "What do you mean?" he asked, panic creeping into his voice. "We might have to sacrifice part of the mill to keep the fire contained," Tyler said, his jaw set in resolve. "It's the only way to save the rest of the town. Are you with me?" In that moment, Jack faced the ultimate question: could he really endorse such a drastic measure? Was he prepared to make that choice? He could feel the weight of the community resting on his shoulders, and he knew what he had to do. But was sacrificing one building worth the lives of his friends? The flames roared behind him, and Jack had never felt more vulnerable. A decision loomed at the edge of calamity. The heat was suffocating, and time felt like it was racing ahead. Jack's mind spun with the weight of Tyler's words. The mill was a symbol of their community, a gathering place filled with laughter, history, and memories. Sacrificing it felt like writing a death sentence for part of who they were. But if that was what it took to save his friends and neighbors, what choice did he really have? Jack. Leah's voice broke through his turmoil, urgent and resolute. We have to act fast. The fire is spreading. He nodded, feeling cold sweat trickle down his back. Okay, we'll do it, he said finally, the words heavy on his tongue. But we need everyone to understand what's happening. We can't let fear cloud our judgment. Gather everyone. Moments later, they had a small group surrounding them, faces gaunt with fear yet determined. Jack looked each person in the eye, trying to channel courage through his gaze. Listen up. The fire is out of control, and if we don't do something drastic, it'll spread beyond what we can manage. We have to sacrifice part of the mill. Gasps permeated the group, and a woman stepped forward, her voice trembling. But, what if we fail? What if it's all for nothing? Jack clenched his fists. If we don't try, we risk losing everything. We're fighting for our town, our homes. We have to believe that this will contain the fire. Silence stretched as they processed his words. Then Tyler stepped in. Jack's right. It's not just about the mill, it's about all of us. We have to make a stand now. His voice sparked a flicker of hope in the crowd. I'll gather the volunteers, Leah said, resolute. We can create a firebreak on the west side of the mill. It'll limit the fire's spread. Jack felt a surge of strength as everyone sprang into action. Together, they rushed toward the spot where the fire had already begun licking at the edges of the mill. He donned a fire-retardant coat, his heart pounding with every step. This was it, they were pushing the boundaries of their resolve. With shovels and axes in hand, they began tearing into the side of the mill, their hands blistering but driven by collective determination. Jack moved like a whirlwind, digging dirt hurriedly and tossing it onto the flames even as the heat bore down mercilessly. But just as the fire seemed to hesitate, a deafening roar cut through the air. The wall of the mill nearby sagged and groaned ominously. Get back! Someone shouted, panic erupting among the workers. The ground shook again, and Jack's heart leaped to his throat as the wall began to crumble. We can't stop now. Jack yelled, panic joining the cacophony around him. We push harder. He glanced to the left, catching sight of Mary, fighting just as fiercely. Their eyes locked for a moment, and in that fleeting connection, he felt purpose flow through him. They were in this together. But as they heaved dirt, a sudden sharp crack rang out louder than the rest. Jack turned to see the support beam snapping right above Tyler. Tyler! Watch out! Jack lunged forward, adrenaline fueling his every move. Tyler! The world slowed as time stretched, a blur of movement and chaos. Could he reach him in time? Could he save his friend? With every ounce of strength, he surged toward Tyler, ready to pull him out of the way. Jack! The agonizing shout echoed as debris cascaded down, and all he could think was this the end? In that moment, he realized they were all fighting to protect each other, battling not only the flames, but their own fears. Questions whirled in his mind: could they really do this? Could they save their town, or were they all walking into one last desperate fight? Jack steadied himself as he traced the silhouette of the mill against the glowing flames, ready to make one last effort. Was hope truly slipping through their fingers? Would the strength of their community be enough to combat the fire, or were they facing an entirely different kind of disaster? With a deafening crash, the support beam collapsed, sending a rain of splintered wood cascading onto the ground. Jack's heart pounded as he lunged, reaching desperately for Tyler. Time felt suspended, every second stretched like a tight wire until it snapped. Miraculously, he grabbed Tyler's arm just in time, pulling him with all the force he could muster. They tumbled to the ground, narrowly avoiding the falling debris. Dust filled the air, gritty and acrid. Jack's lungs burned, but he crawled to his feet, eyes searching for the others. "Tyler, are you okay?" Jack called out, his voice barely rising above the chaos. Tyler groaned but nodded, his face smeared with soot and sweat. "I think so." Just, stunned. Beside them, Leah was shouting orders, trying to rally the remaining volunteers. "Everyone, stay focused. We can't give up now." Her voice held a fierce strength that compelled them forward, igniting the last flickers of determination among the crowd. Jack gathered himself, heart racing as he scanned the scene. Flames danced dangerously close, licking hungrily at the old wooden beams of the mill. The fire was still mercilessly clawing its way through the structure. It was a living beast, one that demanded respect and fear. "Let us shift to the east side," Leah shouted. "We need to create a wider firebreak before it's too late." Hastily, Jack and the others picked up their tools again, urgency propelling their movements. Together, they carved into the earth, tossing dirt and gravel behind them. Each shovel of dirt felt like a small victory, but with every passing moment, the flames threatened to overtake their efforts. Mary joined him at the edge of the firebreak, breathing heavily. "We can do this, Jack. We just have to keep going." He met her gaze, a spark of renewed hope igniting in the pit of his stomach. "You're right. For everyone." Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from the mill. Jack's stomach dropped as he looked back. The flames had breached the west wall, it was only a matter of time before it threatened to collapse completely. "Get back! It's coming down!" someone yelled. Panicking, Jack turned, racing to gather more people. "Form a line. We need to push the dirt faster." He forced the words out, but within him, doubt began to creep in. Would it really make a difference? What if their efforts were in vain? As they worked, he stole quick glances at his friends' faces. He saw the fear beneath Tyler's bravado, the worry lines deepening on Leah's forehead, the determination etched in Mary's features. They were all scared, but they were together. That bond held heavy, a thread woven through each of their hearts. Just then, an unexpected sound pierced through the fray, an eerie cracking noise, rising above the fire's roar. Jack turned, dread pooling in his gut as his eyes widened. The roof above the mill was sagging ominously. "Run!" he screamed. They darted back, adrenaline surging as they sprinted away from the impending collapse. Jack didn't dare look back, he couldn't afford to lose focus now. The mill held years of memories, but as he dashed further, he understood that the weight of those memories could not overshadow their need to survive. Finally, they skidded to a halt, breathless and panting, watching as the structure groaned one last time before it began to topple. In that moment, reality sunk in everything they fought for, all the laughs, all the heartache, spilling into the dust. Jack's eyes filled with tears, a mix of despair and relief. "We have to get out of here," he managed to say, his voice catching in his throat. But as they turned to flee, a faint glimmer caught his eye. A piece of wood, strangely untouched, lay on the ground near the firebreak. He reached for it, barely understanding why it pulled at him so strongly as tension crackled in the air. What was that? What if it meant something? "Jack!" Leah's urgent voice broke through. "We can't stay here." His head spun. The mill was collapsing, fire consuming everything, yet an instinct told him that this wasn't over. The fight was far from finished. As they hurried away, Jack's mind raced with questions. What would remain of their town? Would the sacrifice they made be enough? He could only hope that the connections they fought for, the memories they held dear, wouldn't he go up in flames along with the mill? But as he looked at that piece of wood one last time, something deep inside him changed. Maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. What hidden truths might emerge from the wreckage? What if their fight had only just begun? The rubble of the mill smoldered, smoke still rising like a ghost from the ashes of their past. Jack stood at a distance, his heart heavy but resolute. The sheer weight of what they'd lost pressed against him like the evening air, thick with silence and uncertainty. He watched as the remnants of the old structure crumbled, a symbol of transformation and a testament to the fragility of everything they had built. Jack? A familiar voice pulled him from his thoughts. Leah appeared at his side, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Are you okay? He turned to her, absorbing the strength radiating from her presence. I'm okay, but we lost so much. The words trembled on his lips. The tears he struggled to hold back felt like a mix of grief and gratitude. No, we didn't lose everything, Leah insisted, her voice soft yet firm. We fought together, and we're still here. Our community is still standing. It feels incomplete, he replied, glancing back at the wreckage. The mill. It was part of us. Leah drew in a breath, her expression thoughtful. Yes, but we learned something important today. We learned who we are, how we fight, and that we can rebuild. Her words hung in the air, shimmering lightly like the embers that still danced among the ashes. Jack felt a flicker of hope stir inside him. He remembered the faces of their friends, the strength that had flowed through them, how each pair of hands had worked in unison toward a common goal. We will rebuild. Not just the mill, but everything. Just then, Tyler arrived, his eyes shining with newfound determination, the soot on his face accentuating the resolve within. I was thinking, he said breathlessly, we can start a community fund. The mill might have burned, but it's time for something new, a place that brings us all together, downtown, where everyone can participate in rebuilding our town. That's a brilliant idea, Leah chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. We can turn this tragedy into an opportunity for unity. A community center, something for families, kids, a space to gather. Jack's spirit lifted as this vision unfolded. I can help with that. I can pull in resources and connections to get us started. An electric excitement zinged through him. Over the coming weeks, they made plans, gathered materials, and formed committees from members of the community. Jack felt invigorated, his heart swelling each time they came together, sharing ideas and laughter, rediscovering their roots. The town was alive again, pulsating with energy. This wasn't just about rebuilding a structure, it was about creating bonds, reconnecting with buried dreams. As trucks rolled in with supplies, nostalgia touched every laugh and conversation. Old folks reminisced about days gone by, while children ran freely, their carefree energy infectious. Jack found himself catching Leah's eye often, a knowing smile shared between them. This was just as much her triumph as it was his. One day, as they laid the first bricks of the new community center, Jack stood sideways to Leah, feeling the heat of the sun on their backs. Never thought we'd end up here, did you? Leah said, wiping her brow. Nope. But here we are, Jack replied, a grin spreading across his face. He turned to her, gauging the spark in her eyes, a reflection of the steadfastness he saw in himself. Their journey had been filled with doubt and fear, but it had transformed into something raw and beautiful, something that would stand the test of time. 3 months later, they gathered for the grand opening of the center, the night sky lit up with fairy tale lights. Families filled the lawn, laughter spilling into the air. Jack watched as Leah took the stage, speaking passionately about the community that had risen from the ashes. This is our beginning, she said, her voice strong and clear. A place for every voice, every dream. Together, we can keep the spirit of Crestview alive, no matter what challenges come our way. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and a sense of purpose swept through Jack like a tidal wave. As he looked around at his friends, his family, and The laughter that bubbled up beneath this new endeavor, he realized something profound. This was about more than just brick and mortar. It was about people and connection, about acknowledging the past while boldly stepping into the future. Jack felt a tug at his sleeve. He glanced down to see Tyler, beaming with uncontainable emotion. "Look at what we've done, man. Look at who we've become. We did this together." Jack chuckled, shaking his head in disbelief. "I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else." And as they moved toward the center, a symbol of their resilience and unity, Jack breathed deeply, allowing the warmth of hope to wash over him. He had found not only purpose but a renewed connection to the community and, more importantly, to himself. The journey would continue, filled with twists and turns, but they would face it all together, stronger, united, and ready for whatever lay ahead. This was the real American spirit. It was their story, and it would go on, one brick at a time. And just like that, Jack knew that neither the furnace of flames nor the weight of his past defined him anymore. From catastrophe, they had emerged transformed, each soul woven tighter, each story adding depth to the fabric of their lives. Together, they were the heart of Crestview. Now, don't let this moment pass you by. You need to subscribe now to catch more exclusive transformations just like this one. Leave a like now to show your support, it really matters. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this inspiring ending. I want to hear from all of you. And finally, don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible journey. Let us spread the message of hope and unity far and wide.